So this is a master class lesson number 17, defensive leaders. So the concept is pretty much leaders that can defend themselves. So you don't have to put too much effort into protecting them, which is something you normally have to do when your opponent's attacking with their leader or battle cards, units, and that kind of stuff. If your opponent's constantly attacking your leader, normally you have to defend your leader. If not, you're taking hits, right? Which means you're probably giving up resources like negates, using blockers, out comboing, and of course that can become a problem, especially late game. You might end up in a situation where your opponent tries to finish you off, and you might not be able to defend because maybe you ran out of resources, or they board wiped your blockers or something. It's like, oh man, I'm defenseless or something. And that can happen. And it's important, the idea of keeping in mind defense. It's just a good idea in any card game, especially card games where you're battling. Defense is always important, and I definitely notice a lot of people don't try to use a lot of defensive leaders that much. There are some that do, but that's only because there's always something extra which makes them use, but it's not the fact that they're defensive. They're not used for the fact that they can defend. They're used for other abilities. It's not enough for the leader to have the ability to defend itself. It's also by its own abilities, but to also be able to create defense, right? Like Bulma, she turns your red and yellow Saiyans and Earthlings into blockers. So that's how she defends herself, by turning your battle cards into blockers. Plus her active main ability, especially when she's awakened. Yeah, I should have used the awakened image. Let me see. The awakened version right here is a little better. Sorry about that. Alright. Because of the +2, so drawing cards, card advantage and that is helpful, and especially if you have to combo, and then her being 10k is better than her being 5k. So her awakened side is obviously her better side for defending, because she started the same permanent, but then she has the activate of drawing 2 cards, and she's 10k, so that does help. You got stuff like Hachiyak, which has a permanent effect. Has a auto when it triggers. Then it's it affects the turn. When a battle card attacks, a player who can't attack with tokens or battle cards with energy cost of 7 or less, other than the card they attacked with for the duration of the turn. So this can greatly reduce your opponent's well, at least when it comes to battle cards, to just being able to essentially only attack with 1 battle card in certain situations. They still can attack with Unison and Leader, so that's still a thing. But at least you go from potentially 7 attackers to just down to 3. Leader, Unison, and at least 1 battle card that was 7 cost or less. If they have an 8 cost or higher, then that allows them an extra attacker, right? If they have dual attack, that allows them to attack, especially if it's the same battle card they attack with, and it has dual attack, it can attack more than once. Obviously, it's a good idea to use unisons that can attack more than once, and leaders that attack more than once to bypass this effect. But at least if it's reducing how much you have to defend against when you're using this leader. So obviously it makes it defensive, because it already has a way to reduce how much you have to defend yourself. So defense is not always 100% stopping something, like making sure you never take damage, but reducing the normal outcome of taking a lot of damage in a certain turn, especially if your opponent goes wide. Hachigai is great against decks that go wide. Bulma, is good because you can turn things into blockers, but you got to get things out into play. But if you have a lot of free play battle cards, that does help. And her drawing, feeding the engine of putting out blockers is helpful. But you gotta attack at some point, right? You can't win just being defensive. Jiren, really awesome leader. One being yellow, so obviously you have access to Raider's War Cry and stuff like that. And if you play a mono yellow deck, sells as your win con or any other thing similar to that. But the main thing is it's this active battle ability on his Awakened style where you choose one card in your life and add it to your hand. You have to, not up to, you have to add a life from your a card from your life to your hand. And until the start of your next main phase, as long as you have a Universe 11 card in play, you don't take damage from your opponent's attacks. So as long as you have a Universe 11 card in play, it's interesting. It says card in play. That might actually be something. Right now we know it's just going to be battle cards, but you never know. They might create something later on that some other card type you could play, and it would have the Universe 11 thing. It's funny this says in play, because technically it should count itself with that type of wording, but more likely it's in the battle area. You don't take damage from attacks, which is nice. That means unisons, leader, and battle cards. So for 1 life, you're safe for the turn. And that's the ultimate defense. That's currently is one of the best defenses we have in the game right now. Well, for a leader anyway. Now we got Kaioken Goku turning the tide. He has an active main. So the thing about his effect, unlike Jiren, you can, it's an active battle, so you use it on your opponent's turn. Bulma, her permanent is during neither player's turn. So Hachiyak during neither player's turn. So you notice a lot of these defensive effects are during your opponent's turn. Obviously, that's when you need the defense. Now Kaioken Goku, you gotta trigger it on your turn because it's an active main ability. But since it lasts, as long as you have the card in rest mode, because its active main is once per turn choose one of your blue-green multicolored battle cards in rest mode. So the battle card has to be in rest mode already. So obviously just attack will cause it to be in rest mode. And until the start of your next main phase, as long as the chosen card is in rest mode, your opponent cards can't attack leader cards. So obviously you want to trigger this on your turn, so that way it's active on your opponent's turn. And as long as you have that battle card, your opponent can't attack your leader with any card. So no leader swing, no unison, no battle card, which is nice. But it's something you have to activate preemptively. Hit, he has an active main, active battle, and you want to use the active battle of once per turn, choose one card in your hand and place into drop here, so you discard a card. Choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards with double strike, critical, or blocker, and KO it. And that's a once per turn, so just a hard once per turn, and it's a really good effect. And this is the way you can prevent somebody from taking you out, with double strike attack or something, or swing with like a blocker, for game, or just something that has crit. So this is a very, very defensive effect, because this is something that can be used during battle. And let's say your opponent is not paying attention, they attack, you be like, all right, no negate, and then they're like, all right, combo, chomp or something, give themselves double strike. Then you can take advantage of this effect. It's like, all right, active battle, and I will just KO your battle card. Now, a way to get around this, of course, would be barrier. But if they're not paying attention, they don't have barrier, then they're just hurting themselves. And that right there is a very basic defensive ability. So that's pretty awesome that when they rebooted him, they made him actually better. They gave him that very powerful defensive effect. We got Broly's Surge of Brutality. Also has an active battle, which is pretty much the same. Its secondary ability, once you trigger it, your life has to be 3 or less in order for you to use this. Then you choose one card under this card and place it into the bottom of your deck. the second effect is choose one of your opponent's battle cards, ignore barrier, and KO it, which is great. So even if your opponent has a barrier, don't mean nothing. And this KOs anything, so it doesn't have to have blocker or critical or double strike like with a hit. So this is a really good ability, and see, that type of effect, it's defensive. Another way to defend is to prevent your opponent from even attacking, right? So Frieza, interesting enough, has a ability that a lot of times I didn't notice. Well, I didn't notice at first for a while when I was making decks with Frieza, is that he has this auto. Once per turn, when you activate a mono yellow extra card from your hand, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards and switch it to rest mode, which is really awesome. So, you can literally cold bloodlust something, right, to negate its effect, and then tap one of your opponent's battle cards so they can't attack with it. Now, extra coolness, right, is to stack that. So you can cold bloodlust. Your opponent plays a battle card, you cold bloodlust it, right? So it will lose its ability. I think this will work. I'm not 100% sure, but it's like you cold bloodlust the card, so that way it comes in without its effects, and then trigger this auto to rest it. So not only will you get rid of its effects, let's say it has double strike or something, and that would have ended you out, you also put them in rest mode, which make sure they can't attack you, which is always good. So that would have been something. But just the ability to play, because it does have mono yellow extra card, so you could actually play a negate, like playing Nimbus or something, and then put a battle card in rest mode. That way you reduce your opponent's, how many battle cards they could try to attack. Because remember, once you play by Nimbus, they're going to attack with one battle card. So let's say they attack with a battle card and you find Nimbus the battle card, which means they still can attack with one other battle card. But if you tap the other battle card with this effect, then they can't. So this is a way to make Flying Nimbus even stronger in that situation. Of course, unisons and leaders can still swing, but at least you're reducing your opponent's battle card attacks. So it's pretty nice. It's something you can use in your opponent's turn to defend yourself with, so that's always good. As long as you're reducing the chances of your opponent hitting you, either by reducing how many times they can hit you or just preventing them from hitting you, period, is defensive, which is all I'm trying to say. Bardic, this is pretty nice that this Bardic has this effect, and definitely the kind of effect I like to see. I mean, Jiren is my most favorite effect, of course. Love the whole, can't hit me for the whole turn type thing. But Bardic has a pretty good auto. When this card is attacked, if you have a Bardic's Crew card in your drop area, not in the battle area, just in the drop area, so you could just have it in your drop. Just any Bardic's Crew, you could just have a Bardic's Crew super combo in case you don't put a lot of Bardic's Crew cards in this deck. With this leader, let's say you just play a whole bunch of blue good cards. As long as you tech in like a Bardic's Crew card, you increase your chances of this leader being able to use this effect. But like that, you gotta have a Bardic's Crew card in your drop area, and then you may choose one card from your life and place into your drop area if you do negate the attack. So it's a little bit like Jiren, the whole life to defend yourself thing, which is very useful, especially if somebody's trying to hit you with like a triple strike, quadruple strike, that kind of stuff. Then taking one life just to stop is always good. It's not too different from like a spark and negate, like Dimension Magic or something like that. So using this with Dimension Magic is nice and right. You spark and negate with Dimension Magic to stop an attack, untap 2 energies, right? You take a life, and then if you need to use his ability, then you trigger his ability, losing a life, and stop another attack. So that right there's two negates. And still have energy up in case you need to use it for some other stuff like comboing with some 10k battle cards or something. So this is pretty nice. And you have Bergamo, which has the ability to essentially make it where your opponent's leader can't attack your leader, which is nice. That's one less attack. It's not stopping a lot of attacks, but at least it's stopping. It's just one less attack. And what if your opponent's leader is their finisher, is like their main win con? Then this would be a great ability to have. And this is a permanent effect, so as long as you have Lavender and Basil in play, your opponent's leader can't attack this card or unison cards. So not only does this leader have the ability to prevent your opponent's leader from attacking it, but it can also protect your unisons, which are pretty nice. And let's see. And what I like is that it's just unison cards in general. So it's interesting since cards like if you're gonna have more than one unison, wink wink. What if that means you can have more than one unison later on? It might make a keyword and let you have two unisons in play. We'll see how that works out. But that's always good. And then can't go wrong with more life, as it were, right? That is defensive as well, having more life. So having a second light health bar, as I call it, is awesome. So this leader has the permit that if damage is inflicted to your life, place the top 5 cards of your deck into the drop area instead. So instead of you taking that life damage, you mill from the 5 cards on top of your deck. So, and it's for every damage. So if you take 2 damage, like double strike for example, then you mill 10. If it's triple strike, you mill 15. If it's quadruple strike, you mill 20. So your deck becomes your new health, your new life bar, right? So that right there, itself is defensive, because once you get to the point where you can awaken to get to this leader. Obviously, you took damage to get to that point to awaken this leader. Once you awaken, now you have essentially a second health bar. So that right there is very helpful. Even a leader that has an ability to reduce, like quadruple strike to single strike or triple strike to single strike, you get my point. Reducing damage is always good. So even a leader that can reduce double strike to a single strike damage, that counts. That's very defensive in its own way. It's just different ways of defending, but it's still defense. The idea is you're trying to stay in the game longer, so you have a higher chance of winning. So any leader that can negate an attack or reduce damage or gain life, is always helpful. I even consider leaders that have effects that let you combo for free, like, oh, you attack, active battle, combo from my drop area, right? Bang. You know what I mean? I count that as defensive. So I don't have every leader in the game that has all these abilities. Obviously, you're gonna have to find them yourself, the other ones, but you get the idea of the concept of like looking for leaders that have these types of abilities that help you defend. That's why they're defensive. They have abilities to help you defend. Like, this is a really good defensive ability right here. Like, we heard some good stuff from Broly and Hit, but look at this ability. This ability is crazy. I actually have this leader, obviously. Pretty much have all of these leaders except for like some of them. Which one is it? I don't have this Frieza yet. I don't have this Bardock. I don't have this Bergamo. But I do have all the other leaders, obviously. Because they're defensive. Why not, right? Active main / battle, but the battle part is the part we care about. Once per turn, place 2 cards from your life to your drop area. Choose all of your battle cards and your opponent's battle cards. So it affects both players, but right, doesn't matter. You could have literally no battle cards. Ignore and barrier, which is a very powerful keyword, right? Ignore and barrier, and place them into the owner's drop area. Place, not KO. Think about how powerful that sounds. Ignore and barrier, place them. So this will definitely bypass and not trigger anything that says when they're KO'd, because this doesn't KO. So it ignores barrier and doesn't KO. That is broken. And then it's the fact that it does all battle cards. Yes, yours and your opponent's, but when you use this is definitely when your opponent's trying to go for game and you just like, well, I don't care. I'll sacrifice 2 life so I don't lose. So that is definitely super awesome defensive right there. So definitely makes it a bad idea for your opponent to go wide because they're just wide, they're screwing themselves over. Obviously against this type of effect you want to go tall. So if you battle against this leader, keep in mind, go tall. Do not go wide because this leader loves to punish players who go wide against it. You want to go tall. So like the defensive, keep that in mind. Always look for leaders that have effects like that. That makes you think like, oh, this is pretty cool. It has this ability that can protect itself and this and that. And that's the mindset you should have. Especially if you want to play competitively, it's always a good idea to keep defense in mind. I notice a lot of players don't. They tend to care more about floodgates and outing people, you know, like outs, like, oh, you have that board, I'll play this card and wipe your board. It's like, yeah, that's cool, no, nothing wrong with these tactics. It just wouldn't be a good idea to, you know, improve your defensive capabilities, because a lot of times some players try to rely on negates, blockers. You know, it's nice that people are starting to play blockers more often now than they used to, of course, but it's like, you know, it's like most people just full on offense, right? Attack, 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 hoping that they'll win with just that alone and out comboing their opponent. It's like in certain situations that can work, but that's not always going to work. And there'll be times where you might misread your opponent, and you might go all out and tap out or something, and then something happens, you know, and then you don't win in that turn. It's like, oh man. You end your turn and you'll be like, yeah, I think I'll be good, I think I'll survive, and then it turns out you can't. And it's like, oh man, I tapped out. These negates are useless if I'm tapped out and stuff like that. Or you might end up in a situation where you had cards in your hands, you had the energy to play negates, but somehow your opponent just milled did hand destruction effects and you know, ripped cards from your hands. It's like, oh no, damn man, I lost my negates, I can't defend. It'd be nice to have a leader that can defend itself, right? Makes sense. Makes sense to have something that can protect itself so you don't always have to protect it all the time. It's like having a house. You like the idea that you can lock the door and that protects the house without you being there. If you don't have a door on your house to lock, you kind of can't just walk away from your house. It's very unsafe. Somebody could just walk in and steal stuff, right? So, same thing with your leader, man. Make sure your leader can protect itself. That way you don't always have to. And that's the end of the video.